OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
All right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, up on TSN 4. Brian Hayes, Jamie Noodles, McLennan. And I think it's fitting. It's 2 o'clock Eastern time, Noodles. After the holidays, no one knows what the hell's going on. Why not just start at 2? And
Why
here
not,
we are
though?
for the next 2 hours.
Listen, the first and foremost, Happy New Year. When do we stop saying Happy New Year?
I think that's
Today?
the end of it right there. I think we can maybe throw one out to he'll join us later this hour.
Okay,
Mark Schlereth, in the next hour. That's about it. I don't think much beyond today.
I felt like there is an expiration date on Happy New Year, so I wanted to get that out of the way. And we could not come on today. Like, that's the thing. We both have had the Christmas off, all of that type of stuff. I've seen you worked a little bit. You've worked a little harder than I have, but I've been calling games. Mm-hmm. But that being said, there's just so much to talk about. And this World Junior team, man, I'm pissed because we should have just had a 4 o'clock show.
Yeah, they're jamming us. Like, that's the backstory here is obviously the bronze medal game. We're going to play it on TSN and throughout the TSN radio network, which we have been doing throughout the tournament, and that will continue to happen. If they won last night, the game's at 8:30 tonight, and we're on regularly scheduled programming. But because they lost and Czechia owns Canada, which is just a wild statement to make, but they do. They play at 4:30, pregame at 4, so we're on at 2. Cause was nice enough to move down a couple of hours. We're shuffling here, and we're adjusting on the fly. And the O-Dog, again, is still in Minnesota, obviously doing the panel for the game this afternoon. He'll join us in about a half an hour. But it is one of the more wild developments I can think of as a Canadian sports fan, Noodles, that Czechia owns Canada. They own Canada. And it's not just the World Juniors. Let's not forget about 98. That's when it started. Like Crawford, Gretzky, Hasek, and net. That was the beginning of it. Like, you look at the last 30 years, they have stuffed Canada in a locker on multiple occasions in big games.
The Hasek one is still outrageous, but I remember Al McInnes telling me I was playing with Al McInnes at the time. So Olympic break, get back, they lose. Al McInnes flat out told me right to my face, I'll never forget this moment. And I've seen Al recently, maybe last month in St. Louis. He's like, I wish I'd have just taken a slap shot off of his head. Like, I remember him saying, like he goes, I should have just blasted a slap shot because that Hasek was ridiculous.
Insane.
Remember how good? I mean, he still
They won gold.
Yes,
that's
they
how
won
good.
gold.
Like, that was at the height of his power.
Yes, like
in '98.
Dominant. I mean, this is a guy with Gretzky and Lemieux in the league that won Hart Trophy, not just Vezina's. Hart. He has 6 Vezinas. He's got 2 Hearts.
Crazy.
As well.
Crazy.
So that's how good this goaltender is. But I'll never forget Al saying that. And he was like, I feel like he's joking, but he's not. I don't know. I'd have to ask him that. But, like, I'll never forget that statement because, there was such an uproar whether Gretzky should have shot or not, all of that type of stuff. I didn't put the 2 and 2. Last night I'm laying in bed after the loss, and I'm trying to process as to, do we need a Hockey Summit? Do we need, is Canada falling behind some of these countries because they're more concerned about X, Y, and Z? I don't know. I don't have the answer. I'm not a junior hockey, dominant voice. I really watch as much NHL as anybody out there. But when it comes to junior, I don't have the time. I pay attention. But the World Junior is must watch, and I'm just so disappointed on a lot of different levels. You saw some of the emotion of those kids and stuff. But Czechia played awesome.
They were better than them.
They deserved to win that game yesterday.
They didn't get goalied last night.
No.
They didn't run in. Yes, they had an injury that affected their lineup, but it wasn't like they were, just loaded with injuries and there was nothing Dale Hunter could do.
Yeah.
Czechia played better, period.
Yes.
They were better from the puck dropping and hitting the ice all the way until the final buzzer. They were more resilient. They continued to push play. They were more aggressive. They were more cohesive. Top to bottom, they were just better. That's staggering. Like, it really is.
It's disappointing, and I will say this, and I'm consistent with this, and I know I'll get some pushback. I hate the reffing, and like, the reffing is
Buckle
outrageous.
up at the Olympic Games. I've been talking about that since the Four Nations, Noodles.
Ryan,
Get ready for it.
Seeing some of these calls and some of these guys with their microphone there and trying to figure it out, I want to crawl through my TV and choke some of them.
It's so aggravating. It's so aggravating.
I hate it. I know, because
that's not why they lost, and I know you're not saying that. That's not what you're saying.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that at all, because they earned that penalty in the last minute or whatever.
Oh, yeah, Reshny earned it. Like, he buried him. That was Kyprios on Fuhrer back in the day.
It literally was one of the hardest running of the goaltender, and he's like, I could see his words going, I got pushed.
I got pushed.
Like, by who?
Yeah. It was a tap, and you buried that guy. It was
Kipper. It was Kipper on Fierzy. It really was. But, like, outside, the penalty shot, I thought was a soft call to start off with, and then to double down and give him another one. And
I've never seen that before either.
I was like, what is going on here? Yeah. Again, I am not blaming the refs. They earned, my point is if this continues on into the Olympics, which it's going to, we have to change our expectations. That's
Absolutely.
what I was watching last night.
That's an important element to all of this, is that, again, we're looking at this, I think, a lot of people, through the lens of the Four Nations. And I said it after that gold medal game. I remember coming on the air saying, enjoy it while you can. That's not happening at the Olympics. And I know people understand that, but it's a completely different game in terms of the way it's officiated, what they're looking for, how much they protect, the goalies, the crease, any big hit. They're looking for it. Like, they are waiting to blow it down, and they will call it. And it's different rules. It's a different pace. Again, I think Canada's suited for that, because it is about, defensive play. It's about speed. It's about transition. It's about capitalizing on a special teams, which this Canadian team did on the power play. They were phenomenal on the power play. I expect Canada at the Olympics to be great on the power play. There's no reason why they wouldn't be. But it's a different game. It's not, and it used to be. It felt like it. Maybe I'm wrong in this, and maybe we got to reach out to like Bobby Mack or something, or get Gord on to talk about it. But I recall talking about this last year, where it felt more blunt last year. Right? Like, it was much more blunt the last 2 years, because it was in the quarterfinals. This was in the semis. This Czechia team clearly is very good. I mean, the reporting on that was well-sourced, that people said the coaching staff and the federation really loved their team, and they looked like it. Like, they look like a really good team. I think they can, and I think they will win tonight, actually. I'm kind of leaning on Czechia winning tonight. But it was a scenario where it felt like in the past, 20, 30 years ago, physicality was much more significant at this tournament. It was about hitting. It was about the Canadians being bullies. And maybe we don't produce players like that anymore. Maybe it's the natural transition of the game, that the game is just changing, even at the NHL level. It's very different. It's not nearly as physical as it once was, not nearly as intimidating as it once was to step on the ice in the NHL or on the international level. But if that has been balanced out, and it is more or less who can play their system, who can get big stops, who can stay disciplined, as opposed to who's going to go in there and just be energetic and blow the doors off teams, then it's going to balance out.
Yes.
And that's what we've seen, because the other teams can catch up with that. Or if it's a crazy take it to the alleyway type game, I don't think Czechia can play like that. In fact, I know they can't. I think Canada could put together a team that would go out there and bury them. But that's not the way the game is played, and that's not the way it's officiated.
It's a great point, because that's the playing field has been leveled, where it's like the way they call the game is conducive for everybody to feel like they're not intimidated. They can go out and play. And I get it. You're trying to respect headshots and all of that. But there's some where they're looking at it, and the guy gets a little tap on the chin, and they're like, oh, is this a 5 or is this no, we're not sure. And I'm like, I'm trying to figure out, again, taking my old man hat off, my old school mentality, all that. So I'm trying to, be reasonable, but I can't, there's no predictability about it. Like I'm watching it going, well, I don't think that's a penalty. Oh, it's a 5. Okay, that's a 5. I didn't realize that. Zane Parekh took a shot on the chin. I think it was a couple games back, and the guy got 5 on it. I was like, it was.
Yeah,
I guess
it's an
5.
adjustment, and we'll see what happens at the Olympics.
Yeah.
Like on the men's, this is still junior hockey, and I'm sure they're told to officiate more diligently or more carefully, I would think. But it is going to be different, and the officials, they could factor in. Another thing that needs to be considered that is brought up is Celebrini could have been playing, Schaefer could have been playing.
Correct.
Like we are, because Canada has so many elite players that make the NHL. It's going to, water down the pool to an extent.
Which is fair.
Which has always been the case, and certainly has been the case recently. And Celebrini and Schaefer are perfect examples of that. Could you imagine what those two guys would be doing in that tournament?
This Schaefer kid the other night.
He's
alone.
unbelievable how good he is.
And I'm reading the notes this morning. Apparently he was sick and under the weather.
Yeah, wasn't feeling great.
Well, he felt pretty good in the third period.
I would say so.
I'll be honest, I didn't notice him. I didn't notice him that much. I noticed him, but it became the Matthews show, and I was like, okay, we're watching that, but I didn't notice Schaefer having these bursts like in other games that I've watched him. But then he just came alive.
Yeah, and he can fly, man.
And he did the exact same move that Austin had. Same goal.
Yes.
Exact same goal. Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay, this kid is feeling he can skate. And then he takes a little, the forearm,
It was like a cross-check from
Domi gives him a cross-check.
Wasn't that hard, though. He just kind of give him a little love tap. Knew what he was doing.
Right spot. But then he comes back, and I'm like, this guy is all over. And he getting back to it, he's a special player. The Islanders have themselves a special player, and he's a cornerstone.
Mm-hmm.
Kid's 18. Like my daughter's 13, and I'm pointing to the screen. I'm like, that kid is 5 years older than you, and he's dominating in the NHL. Not just playing.
Oh, his numbers are crazy. Like Mike Kelly posted his numbers again today in terms of like rush chances, zone entries, exits. Like it's top of the league. Period.
Yeah.
That includes Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes. Like, we're talking – that's why I thought it was a legitimate debate whether or not he'd make the team. And, he didn't. The reasoning is fairly simple. It's not overly complex. He's 18, and they're probably thinking we just don't know if we can trust him with the lights being that bright. But that's a game changer you're leaving home. And that's the thing about this junior scenario – where last year it was, well, Dave Cameron isn't the right coach, or they didn't bring enough skill. Well, this year they brought all the skill and they brought Dale Hunter, right? So all of a sudden, which one is it? It's probably neither. It's just the other team was better, and the Canadian teams, for whatever reason, couldn't get up in the moment. Like they didn't play great last night, and that's something that obviously you're gonna have to figure out because you're coming home next year. And last thought on this, it is a testament to the greatness of the program and the history that they're playing for bronze today. Yeah. And it's looked down upon.
A disappointment.
It's such a disappointment. And that's a reality check. Like that's how high the expectations are. Not that we don't know that, but that they've met them and exceeded the expectations so many times over the last 40 years that they could win a bronze in 3 or 4 hours and it won't be celebrated.
Yeah.
You'll be happy for them, and I hope they get up off the mat and go play. You might as well. You got another game to play. And Finland's a good team.
Yes.
Go out there and play.
It's not going to be a cakewalk.
No,
That's
it's not.
The thing. Once those teams get near the top there, the Sweden, Finland, Czechia, USA dropped out. USA didn't get to play for a medal, right?
Yeah.
Like
and Russia's not even in it. Russia's a powerhouse at this tournament.
Yes, it is unique. It's disappointing, but I wanted to hear what other people have to say because I've got my own opinion, but I don't know if Hockey Canada needs a summit. I don't think they need anything.
Noodles.
There's great hockey
I think they
players.
were good enough. It was a great game.
Yeah.
And they just, again, Czechia's got their number, and it's very clear that the players on the ice are aware of that. They didn't have enough guys step up in the moment last night. That's
fair.
a big part of it. And they're young. They're young guys, but that happens to veterans. That happens to the best players. Yep. And they just didn't have the right stuff. And, O's been covering this tourney for a long time. He played in it. He'll join us in 15 minutes, and we'll get his take on it and what we can expect this afternoon. But you mentioned Saturday, and, it was the Austin Matthews show, and I found it somewhat unfortunate and so very typical of the Leaf history, and specifically with him on it, that the first game he ever played, he scored 4 and they lost in overtime.
I was just going to say, we were there day one. This guy puts up 4. We forget that they lost in overtime.
Kyle Turris in overtime, right down Broadway, scored on Freddie Anderson.
Top shelf.
Saturday night, he puts on a clinic, scores 2, the bench is clear, you've got a lead, and they lose in overtime. It's like a 10-year bookend of history with the same result, which is, again, typically Leafy and disappointing. But I think what was – obviously this was, going to happen. The guy, we've known about this for years. I tweeted out the other night that he basically put the record book on notice that first game in Ottawa. Like, when he scored 4 – you're like, if this guy plays 10, 12, 15 years here, he's going to catch Sundin. Like, they're going to set new records. And I thought the same thing of Marner and likely Nylander, not to the same extent 10 years ago, but certainly Matthews and Marner I thought could do that. Marner obviously won't because he's not here anymore. Right. But the fact that he did it in so few games, he's 28 years old. He's still in his prime. But I think in terms of the micro view of this, I'm happy for him and Leaf fans that he's come alive to do it, right?
Right.
Like, he's playing really well.
He didn't limp into it.
He didn't limp into it.
This didn't happen late February. And
right. He's on pace for 21 goals, brutal season. You're like, oh, man, good for you. Gets it in like a blowout loss or something.
Yeah.
Like with Tavares earlier in the year, he scored 500, and they were in Columbus getting pumped, and it was disappointing. Right. Where this was a go-ahead goal. Yes, it was on the road. I'm very curious what the Leafs do for him tomorrow night. They better be ready to celebrate. I'm sure they will be. Again, somewhat fitting. Florida's in town waiting for him tomorrow. But, the guy, he's a one-man show, and he has been since day one. Like, the way he plays the game is so electric. He's coming alive. He's scoring a lot of goals, but it's not just that. He looks good. He's got line mates that are seemingly working with him. McMahon and Domi will see how long that lasts, because Berube's always flipping guys around.
Right.
But I think you got to be very encouraged with the way he's playing right now.
Yeah. Well, for me, Brian, like, they need him, and he's the only reason why, in my opinion, they're grabbing points. Mm-hmm. Like, he looks like the Matthews that we've seen in past years, where he's dangerous every time he's out there. That wasn't the case 2.5 weeks ago, or whatever it was. But he now has come back, especially since Christmas, come back and looks healthy, looks motivated, looks quicker, if that makes sense. He looks quicker. He looks like he's getting a shot off. We were on this show. You had said there was a shot. Remember, he had – over the blue line. Was it overtime? He didn't shoot from there, right? Yep. And who went back the other way and they scored? And I can't remember who it was. Whatever it was.
I'm blanking on the game now.
Yeah, so am I. I'm blanking on. They all
might have been
morphed
San Jose.
together.
I don't remember. Anyway,
whatever it was, he shoots that puck now. Mm-hmm. 2.5 weeks later or 3 weeks later, that shot, and it's a dangerous shot. Like, he did it against Detroit the other day. Had a rocket of a shot, hit the crossbar.
Same play.
Same play.
5 feet over the blue line and just rifled it.
Right. So that is come back to life. What they need is others.
Yes.
You need others.
But others aren't around. That's the thing. Like, Jake McCabe's out for a week, and Willie's, on IR. I think he'll be back soon, but not likely to play tomorrow. I
am worried. The news about Tanev, I'm worried, on a lot of things. But the players in the lineup, Tavares has been quiet. Empty net goal
very
here or
quiet.
there, like, very quiet. And listen, he's 35 years old, but he's had a good start to the season. They need him. And I keep saying this. There was a tweet from Aaron Portzline yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, because Columbus has won 4 of 5 in regulation. They've made 0 ground up. Yeah. And he's saying, like, this team's got 8 of 10 points, and they've done nothing. They haven't gotten off the mat.
The Leafs have got 10 of their last 12. They're in last in their division still.
But that's the crazy part. At some point, something has to give. You have to give yourself the opportunity to do that by getting points nightly. Loser point here, win there. Like, you got to do it. And it just can't be Austin Matthews. You are going to need
right.
other players.
Yes.
And we have seen some life, Nick Robertson.
I like that line. That Wall, Robertson, Cowan line, I think, has been very good.
Got some jump.
They've got some jump. I like that line. Listen, Domi and McMahon are what they are. Domi defensively and all that. But I'm willing to accept the deficiencies if it gets the big guy going. And it has.
Fair enough.
And you're right. Like, Matthews is the reason they're winning. They're getting points. And there's probably more pressure on him right now than at any point in his career. And obviously playoffs notwithstanding in specific games, you go to a game 7, obviously there's a ton of pressure on a player. But they're in last place in the division. They buried themselves with the way they played the first 30 games. Tanev may not play again this year. We'll see.
Yeah.
McCabe's out. Willie's out. Who knows if what's going to happen there. And you've got Carlo, I think, will return soon. But you got a scenario here where I think he's got to be one of, if not the best player in the league, the final 40 games of the season for them to get in, which is crazy to say. But we've seen it out of some other players, not to this extent, and you always need someone to ride with you, right? Like you can point to McDavid, Draisaitl's there with him. Right. You're right, Noodles. Like someone else, and I think it's got to be Willie, clearly. He's got to get healthy and get cooking because he was playing really poorly prior to that injury. But there is more pressure facing him. You can throw the Olympics into it too because, the Olympics, the Americans have never won gold with the NHL players there. He's going to be the captain of that team.
Yeah.
They have the highest expectations I can recall in the last 30 years.
And rightfully so.
Rightfully so because of how good they are and how deep they are. So he's got to juggle that with the fact that he's dragging this team out and he's not got a ton of help. And it's asking a lot, but it comes with the territory. You're the captain. You're 28. You get paid a lot of money.
Make $14 million a year.
You got to go out there and chug, man. He's got to be great. He's got to be the best goal scorer in the league the rest of the way.
The only there's lots of scary things we could talk about. They've still had the lightest schedule. Mm-hmm. Now that's the thing. Like, hey, we're down in New York the other night. It's an hour flight. They're back in their bed.
Yep.
Like they haven't gone down. It's not into Colorado,
it's
Utah.
Right around the corner. It's coming.
Exactly. I looked at their schedule. January, I think they go twice out west or out there. And then after the Olympics and that, it seems like they play – I feel like they play every night, like down the stretch. It's crazy.
And that's going to be it. Like you've got a certain amount of games until you get to the break. You've got to be within striking distance, which is 3 or 4 points at most. Like if you're 5-6 points out and you got to jump 8 teams, that's too much.
Yeah.
So you've got to be within a few points of striking distance and find a way to recalibrate and get hot the final 18 to 20 games. Someone's going to get in by coming out of the break going 15-4-1, something like that, or 16-3-2 and get in. And that's going to have to likely be the Leafs because of the situation they put themselves in. But you talk about pressure and what is needed. I've ever seen him play on Saturday night. He single-handedly cost them that game. Like, you can't sugarcoat it. He was terrible. And defensively, he's really struggling this year. But they need him maybe more than ever now. Because Tanev's not playing. And, again, Carlo's going to return. But McCabe's out for a week, which with the Leafs, it might be a month. Who knows when McCabe's coming back. He's got a lower body injury. You need him and Ekman Larson. They're going to play 25 minutes a night. They're not going to sit Riley. They can't. No. They're not going to play Marshall Rafai. They're not going to play Simon Benoit 28 minutes.
No, you can't.
He's got to be better. He's got to be egregiously better than the way he's played, specifically defensively. It's got to happen.
100%, Brian. 100%. The problem is when they were all healthy, they were a group that slotted nicely because everyone complemented each other. You had Riley with Tanev, and McCabe and Carlo. Like everybody was kind of, hey, this was a compliment for you. They weren't this top-tier defensive group, but they worked well together as a pack of 6, right? That 6 not there.
No, and it's not going to be there anymore.
It's not going to be there. So what you're doing is you're going, okay, Morgan Riley, we need you to be, a star as a 1. He's if you look at other defensive scores, he's probably farther down what you would typically say as a 1. Then you start looking at Benoit's, the Stetchers, and that. Stetcher's a great story, but if you're
asking a lot.
You're asking a lot of players. Meyer, again, 6'7", but he's got to play 3-4. Ekman Larson won a cup as a 5'6", right?
Yes.
Because he was
and that's
slotted
what he was
properly.
last year. He's a third pairing guy.
And excellent. But now, we need you to play in the 2 spot. We need you to play in the 3. And guess what you're getting? You're getting everybody else's top players. And it's going to cause a lot of stress. So coming back to it, are they capable of doing it in a 10-game, sequence? Absolutely. But comes back to Morgan Rielly. You need Morgan Rielly to play the way Morgan Rielly's capable. And that's skating, jumping up in the play, being an offensive threat. Yes, defensively, you just can't cost.
He's got to stabilize. He's never going to be a great defensive.
Yeah.
He's not. It's not going to happen. It never has throughout his career. But it's the worst he's played defensively. He's always been average at best defensively or a bit below it. He's pulling pucks out of his net every night. And you can't get burned. You can't make misreads. That he's a veteran guy. He's been in the league a long time. He's their longest standing player. You got to rely on that. Control the front of the net and just find a way to contribute here because they need him. It's not going the other way because they don't have the option. Yeah. There's no protecting him right now. He's got to step up and elevate.
Exactly.
We'll see if he can do it. All right, we'll head down to Minnesota, catch up with the O-Dog, get his take on what happened to Canada last night. What does he make of Matthews' pass and Sundin's record? We'll get into a number of things with him. More into the NFL. The Jays make another big splash. We'll touch on that. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you more ways to play your game your way. We're on from 2 to 4 Eastern today because Czechia had to go ahead and beat Canada last night. So now Canada's playing the bronze medal game, which is in a couple of hours, and that'll be heard right here on TSN and, of course, seen on TSN. And that means Czechia is playing Sweden in the gold medal game tonight. But we will resume regular programming tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern. And I don't know if our buddy will be back or not. I hope so because his team went plus 21 making NFL picks this year. And Al's brother and I could not have done it unless we picked up the waiver claim of the century, bringing the O-Dog in. And it was just phenomenal to have him as a part of the ride.
He jumped ship at about minus 15 on the other side.
Erroneous.
And threw me to the Wolves. But I still remain positive. Clean slate in the playoffs. You guys can win the regular season. We'll take the playoffs.
Okay.
I want to be the
bring
Florida
in my
Panthers.
partner. Here he is, the O-Dog Jeff O'Neill. Congrats, O, and an absolute pleasure making history with you this season.
I have to tell you, Hazy B, it was kind of, as a broadcaster, disappointing that I have to go and do a bronze medal game. But when I think of HBO, it makes me smile, and it's just the cohesiveness in working with you two and seeing how a proper operation runs. I'm very proud of that, and it made me smile this morning.
As you
and
should.
I would just like to say, come playoff time, if that flying, what does he call it, a windbag or a
It's no thing without the ring or something
bag.
like that.
The
or the floating bag. That's what he
yeah.
calls you,
That's,
a floating
that's
bag.
scumbag, floating bag Luke. If he thinks that we don't start the playoffs with some kind of plus advantage, he's sorely mistaken.
Oh, no. The regular season,
no.
you don't.
Hang on a sec, Jamie. Hang on a sec. If you think it's fair just to start the playoffs even, we start with a +2 or +3 advantage, and that's just the advantage of winning the regular season.
Well, so the President's Trophy in the NHL, what did they get? Did they get two extra wins to start a playoff in the first round?
Yeah, they start 2-0 in the first round.
No,
everyone
they don't.
knows that.
It's even keel. You guys won the regular season quite handily.
Okay, so if you win the bag,
the floating bag,
you guys win the floating bag, win the playoffs. Does that mean you win it all, or like how is he going to equate that?
Well, that's going to be his stance. That'll be Luke's stance.
Here's what I will say.
Bag. I can guarantee you that.
There is a difference between regular season and the playoffs. We see it all the time. The President's Trophy team last year was who? Winnipeg Jets.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't win the
go
Stanley
so
Cup,
well.
right? The Florida Panthers barely, scraped into the playoffs. I wouldn't say scrape in, third place in their division. They win the Stanley Cup. I think when the chips are down, it's an even keel. You guys are regular season heroes.
We'll accept that.
We'll accept that.
We'll accept that we are regular season goats, and that we're going to follow it up with just a spectacular run in the playoffs. I'm not concerned at all.
That's fair.
You guys are the
That's
Carolina
fair.
Panthers. You're 8-9. You shouldn't even be in the playoffs. That's the truth.
No.
Forget us. It's you guys.
You're right. Well, I don't know how we're in the playoffs, but put it this
8-9.
way.
You're in the
We might be
playoffs.
the LA Kings, though. Remember when the Kings won their first cup and they got in
You're
eighth
Daryl
place
Sutter.
and
You
limped
would
their
play
way
Daryl
in.
in that role.
Exactly. But
Well, when the
we
chips
need to
were
be better.
down last night, you were there.
Yeah.
Noodles and I have given our kind of take on it all. What happened? Like how did you see the outcome, and what do you make of it the next day?
You know what, guys? It just came down to the Canadians. I mean, throughout the tournament, I was asked a few times, like, what are they? What are they attached to? And a part of it was scoring goals because they could do that. But I think the undoing of the team was their ability, like, to keep it out of their net. And that cost them big time, and it cost them playing for the gold medal. If you look at elite competition, they gave up 4 to the Finns. They gave up 5 to the Czechs in the round play. And then they gave up a 6th spot again. So it was like when critical moments, and I'm sure coaches would want them to be able to defend and kind of peak in that area at the most critical times. They just couldn't do it. They couldn't keep the puck out of their net, whether it was turnovers, defensive play, defensemen just defending in front of the net, or just simple mistakes. They couldn't do it at critical times. They made a game of it. Porter Martone scored a big goal to kind of tie it up, and it was like, okay, let's take our chances in overtime, and they just couldn't get it to overtime. So I thought it was a gold medal winning team, but I don't believe we need a hockey summit. I think it was Canada's best team. There was a bunch of high-end players. But let's not take away from the Czechs. Like James Duthie's been telling me all year, I think this is the Czechs' best chance at a gold medal, and they kind of just played better. They kind of beat Canada at their own game. It's like when they did turn those pucks over, man, those Czechs the quick strike offense, they can make plays and they can put it in the back of the net. And basically all facets of the game, they were probably better last night, and that's the end of it. I don't think there's anything to feel bad about or start questioning things. There were a bunch of good players. They just couldn't get it done, and the Czechs played better.
That's where I was going to go. Oh, so you're fine with, not having a summit or anything like that. Lots of good players coming out of Canada, but do you feel like, some of these other countries have really put a lot of resources and time and money into their programs? Has the playing field evened out a little bit more, in your opinion, over the last couple of years?
I think so, Jamie. I mean, the Czechs and, they're playing the Swedes in the finals, and for years it seemed like the Swedes could never get into that gold medal game, and now you're seeing something different this year. I think for Canada to just assume they're going to win the gold medal, which a lot of, for 10 years I've been doing this tournament, it seems like Canada had a really good chance. Obviously, there's some down years, the last 2 years losing in the quarterfinals. But you look at the American program, they were so good for a couple of years, and this year they got bounced in the quarterfinals. So I think it's good to kind of mix it up for the tournament and get some different teams in there. But obviously, selfishly, doing it for the broadcasting, I would have loved an American-Canada matchup, and I would love an American-Swedish matchup today, but it's not happening.
Yeah, it's too bad. And yet that's why you play the games. Czechia was better.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. 16 of them are playing in the CHL. A bunch of them are first and second round picks. Like, they got really good players, and they looked like it last night. And it's too bad. Canada's got to find a way to get up off the mat. Finland's going to be ready to go. Finland's happy with the bronze. Finland's happy to beat Canada, and it's not going to be easy in a couple of hours. But we were talking about the officiating, and I know it's different on a junior level, but I do think it's a good precursor for what's coming in the Olympics. We've talked a lot about it the last year. It is not the Four Nations. There will not be hits and fights and scrums. Doesn't happen. They can't wait to blow the whistle. They can't wait. And a lot of those were penalties last night. Like, Reshley buried
some of them, Hayes. He did, but there were some. You get cross-checked in front, and then all of a sudden you bump into the goal. You're going off for goaltender interference. But you're right, that one there, he deserved that penalty. He blatantly ran the goaltender over. But you're right with the big hits. You can just see they're looking around. They're like, It's been like that in kind of international competition where if there's a massive hit it's like in a big noise, it's like the refs like, do I got to call a penalty on that? Because that was just violent. So it's just something to look for Canada. And it's almost a disadvantage because every year I do this tournament, and I don't care if I repeat myself, and it's the same thing. But one of Canada's advantages always has been, obviously there's, Brian, you've talked about it for years, they have the elite talents, whether it be Gretzky, Lemieux, Crosby, McDavid, McKinnon. But I think their biggest strength is just kind of overwhelming the opposition in the offensive zone with physicality. Mm-hmm. It's like they play the ground and pound game better than anybody, and you add in that elite skill. It's really tough to compete against. And if it's kind of called differently and you're a little bit tentative to run somebody over, then you got a different ball game. You're almost leveling the playing field.
So on Saturday night, Matthews sets the record. We all knew it was coming. He's up to 421 goals, which is just remarkable, passing Matt Sundin and doing it in like 300-plus fewer games than Sundin, which is, again, insane. And he's playing great. Like, he's playing great. And this team, there's more injuries. McCabe's out for a week. Willie's still out. Tanev, we're not sure when he's going to play again, if at all this year. Stolarz, who knows? I know you've been tracking the juniors, but I'm sure you want to give your 2 cents on Matthews, considering what he's done throughout his career. And I said earlier, I think it's comforting that he did it in a fashion where he looks like he's back. He's chugging, man. He had a hat trick the night before. He looks vintage. He's skating. He's shooting. He's playing aggressively. He didn't just limp towards the record book here. He went and got it throughout his career, and he's certainly done it the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and it kind of takes you back to the beginning of it. We were all in Ottawa watching him rip home the first 4. And for him to continue on at that rate. And throughout the season, guys, I'm sure it's plainly obvious that certain things in the league have started to rise up, whether it be the Florida Panthers or the Edmonton Oilers, Connor McDavid, Brad Marchand. It's like it's starting to really pick up. And the one thing that was kind of missing from all of that was Auston Matthews, and is desperately needed for him, especially now with all the injuries, for him to elevate and continue at that pace, because without that, I don't know where they are. They desperately need him to continue to score and be a dominant player if they're going to kind of stick around and get back in this race. It's going to be awfully difficult regardless. Their schedule in the second half is going to be so tough that if they don't have that guy dialed in on all levels, they're going to have a really difficult time making the playoffs.
Yeah. And it changes everything. Like we've talked about it before, that it doesn't matter the sport. If your best player is not playing at the height of his talents or abilities, everything feels off. Everything feels off. And with this team, all of a sudden the Leafs, they're 4-0-2 in their last 6. I don't think it's a coincidence that he's playing the best hockey he's played in 2 years. And
he's
all of a sudden they're coming
Brian.
alive.
He's a separator. It's like he's the advantage, one of the advantages for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And you often talk about certain players blending into a game. If he's just average, that team just blends into the standings, and they're going to continue to be where they're at. So he is one of the guys that's most important for him to elevate in the standings, and if he's not, they have no chance.
Something to chew on, brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. This January at BP, get delicious, mouth-watering pasta starting at $11.99 every single day. Enjoy the pastas you love at prices you can't miss. Hustle in your local BP tonight. So we're asking, you can start, Noodles, you jump in.
Yeah.
Which of Auston Matthews' feats was the most improbable? 4 goals in his debut, the 69-goal season, or the Leafs' all-time goal record?
I'm going to go with 69 in the season. That was incredible to watch, and to come that close to scoring 70 goals, it was just an incredible season to watch. I'm going to go with 69 goals.
Yeah, 69 for me, because this is weird to say, and you guys have pointed this out. Like, the Leafs history book, he's only the 4th 50-goal scorer. Like 420 goals. Like, they've been around for 100 years.
Yeah,
you know what I
over
mean?
100
Like
years.
You go to other organizations, and it's like, that guy got 700. You know, you like here. You knew he was going to get that. It was just a matter of time. The 69 goals is more special for me because that's an outlier, rare. That's in rare air. The other, we just knew he was going to get it.
You knew the record. I'll be the contrarian here and say the 4-goal debut, because it was his first game on the road, Battle of Ontario. The guy scored 4 goals. Like, it was remarkable. It was still one of the most incredible sporting events I've ever witnessed live, and I've been lucky to be in the building for a lot of them. You guys have been in buildings for more than I even have. But, chasing 60, you're right. Like Rick Vive held the record of 54 goals for 40 years. Like, Vive did that in 81-82. Matthews passed him in 21-22. 40 years. Well, you're right. You look at Edmonton, Pittsburgh, Montreal, all these
Detroit,
other
Detroit, you name it.
Gordie Howe had, 800 goals or whatever. Like in Washington, the guy's got over 900.
Right.
And the Leafs are 421.
I thought it was weird because you're like, it's amazing. And like, if Matt's, Hayes, you said it, Matt's didn't play his whole career here. The number would be higher if he played his whole career.
Yeah, if he started his career for sure he would.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, anyways, the point being is that one, we just knew he was going to blow through. It was just a matter of when. The 69 is that's a special outlier. Like, that was
unparalleled.
Right.
There was Gilmore in 92-93. Dougie had 127 points. Absolutely absurd season. Most points by a player in an individual season ever in Leaf history. But the 69 goals and him chasing 70. And he could have had 80 that year. I know that sounds crazy, but he had so many opportunities, even coming down the stretch. But, yeah, he's come alive, and it's funny how other guys have, too. You see Kucherov now all of a sudden is sniffing around. Like, he's got 25 points in his last 11 games. He had 5 points the other night. Like, it's and McKinnon's past McDavid again. Like, a week ago, it was like, wow, there goes McDavid. He's got not so fast. Not so fast. Like, it's pretty incredible how the big boys, they just consistently do it. And for Austin, it's good to see it happen. All right, well, what's the prep like for bronze? Like, how would this be different, the pregame prep and everything, compared to if they were playing for gold tonight?
Honestly, it's like you got to go and do it. It's not that fun, and bronze isn't that cool, but it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to win the bronze medal, whatever the players think of it. But it's just the old saying, and you guys know it better than anybody. Like, there's always somebody watching.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
like, if it's an exhibition game in the NHL, if it's an exhibition game in the OHL, WHL, if it's a gold medal game, if it's a pre-tournament game, there is always somebody watching to see how you react to certain situations. So if you think it's just, I'm going to go out there and kind of half-ass it, it's a big-time mistake. And it's also a big-time mistake doing that broadcasting. So you guys know better than I will put forth my best effort.
Yes.
Of course you will.
Always.
You will have a brand new suit on. I guarantee you'll be rocking. Did you I don't know. It was at the end of the broadcast here. McKenna he wanted to get off the ice there. Did you see that where Scott Salmon's like, you stay out here type of thing?
Well,
I don't know if you guys saw
He
that.
got 10 in a game,
I think he got 10 in a game, and I think he was like, well, I guess I'm out of here. But then somebody stopped him when he went off the ice and said, I wouldn't go anywhere.
He needs to have a game. That's the kid you're talking about right there. And I know that's crazy for the presumptive first overall pick. But I did not love his game last night. And
no, he didn't have his best stuff, Brian. It was kind of perimeter stuff, and it was the odd saucer pass. But when you're talking about a kid like that potentially going number one overall, you just expected more. He's obviously made some great plays in this tournament, but the top guys, the number one guys, they don't have that performance. So he can kind of redeem himself and show something today because he just didn't have his best stuff last night.
All right.
Yeah,
well, we'll catch you in a couple hours. We look forward to it. Hopefully Canada can pull something out here. And
drive safe out there.
Drive safely. You and Frankie.
Guys, the driving is, there's been, my thoughts and prayers are with Darren Dreger because he had an incident. He had to fly down here for the Olympic announcement. And when we were going home, Frankie was driving, and he thought Dregs was in the car, and he put it in drive, and poor Dregs was dragged about 100 feet. I swear. And he was like, I haven't got in the car yet. He's yelling, getting dragged along the car. And Frankie was like, whoa, and he put it in. It was a mess.
Menace,
it was a mess.
dude. This guy is a menace.
And I want to tell you guys of one of the most cowardly things I've ever seen in my life. We were coming home the other night in the last, kind of group play, and we got off the highway, and we realized a car was coming the wrong way on the ramp directly at us.
Really?
Yes. And one of the most cowardly things I've ever seen is little Jimmy Duffy was in the back seat, and there was 3 people in the back, and he grabbed Megan Redwood, and he pushed her in front of himself and said, "I can't go like this," and he used her to shield himself.
That is so unfortunate to hear.
That is the most cowardly thing I've ever witnessed
so
in a car.
disappointing. Because Megan's a trooper, too.
Yeah.
Exactly. And he tried to use her as a shield to protect himself. And I look back, and Frankie, he redeemed himself. He went around the car.
Good.
And
Good to hear.
it was like one of those things when it's like something bad's about to happen and you blurt something out, and then it's okay. And then you look at him like, man, that was a tough one.
That's not a foxhole guy.
That's,
man.
you know what Jimmy Duffy is?
He's got a book out. He's got a new book out. You got to take that into consideration.
Remember George Costanza, Women and Children? He was pushing him out of the way in the house fire. That's Duffy.
That's JD. Just taking people out. Elbows and fists.
I literally heard him blurt out, he's like, "I'm too important. I can't go like this." And he shielded himself with her.
All right, well, say hi to Megan. We love Megan. And I guess say hi and Happy New Year to JD and the whole crew. And we'll catch you later in the week.
Later.
Okay. We'll see you guys. Bye.
There he is, the O-Dog Jeff O'Neill. Very disappointing to start our new year with a story like that. I find that hard to believe, but very disappointing. All right, Mark Schlereth on What's Up with the NFL going into the playoffs. We'll catch up with him in 15. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and up on YouTube Live. Hour 2 coming up. Mark Schlereth will join us to look back on Week 18 in the NFL. The Steelers are in. The 1 seeds have been determined. We know who's playing in the wild card round. A lot of coaches fired today. A lot of reports about who might be looking for jobs, including a guy named Bill Belichick. We'll get into that with Mark. And the Blue Jays making another signing, man. This offseason just continues to roll along for the Blue Jays. So we'll get into that and the possible ripple effect that could have on other players they might be pursuing. And back in the Leafs Panthers tomorrow night in Canada, playing for bronze tonight. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and up on YouTube Live.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Hour 2 OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Mark Schlereth coming up in a few moments on the craziness of Week 18 in the NFL, and now the wild card weekend is set. A bunch of coaches fired today in the NFL. We'll catch up with Mark in a few moments. Back into the World Juniors. The NHL, has a lot going on in the NHL, not just Leaf-related. We'll touch on that later this hour. And the Blue Jays, they finally got their Japanese superstar Noodles.
Yes.
Right? That's what they've been seeking, man. They got them.
Last couple of years, they've been chasing one, and they've got one.
Got one.
Now, I don't know if he's going to be – I'm sure he'll be good. Is
4-year deal, like Okamoto's getting paid here, right?
Yeah.
They committed to him.
Yeah, but I said this to you earlier. I wonder what that means for Bo. I wonder what that means for the rest of the roster construction. It might not mean anything. It might just say we're spending a bunch of money and this guy's part of it and Bo's part of it, like to me. But I am concerned about the bigger picture and the negotiations broken down or where are they
It's
at
possible. I mean, I think the craziness of Major League Baseball's offseason is evident now, like it has been for years.
Right.
But this Tucker scenario is very different. Like Juan Soto made a choice.
Right.
Shohei Ohtani made a choice, and Tucker's not at their level in terms of the money and in terms of, I'm sure, the suitors, although there'd be a lot of teams that would love his services. But I am surprised we're into January and he is still not made a decision. And I would have to believe the rest of the free agents like Bichette, Bregman, Bellinger, et cetera, are waiting for him to go, set the market for this offseason. And, they're facing a CBA issue, too, in Major League Baseball, which may be factoring into what's going on here, the uncertainty of the future of Major League Baseball. And will there be a lockout? Will there be a salary cap? I don't know. It doesn't seem to affect the Blue Jays, though.
Nope.
Like this, they've signed now, obviously, Cease and Ponce and Rogers and now Okamoto. And, he's not a young kid. Like, he's not a young guy at all. He's 29 years old. And he's coming over here, and I don't know a lot about him. I've spent the last 48 hours reading about him and watching YouTube videos. And he took Sasaki deep a couple of years ago in Japan. That was great. A lot of Blue Jay fans are happy about that. But it sounds like he's going to be maybe a super utility type player, which, again, I don't think will necessarily factor into Bichette. But my read on the scenario, just based on, the history of the off seasons in baseball and the way things have played out in free agency, and you look at Bregman last year, you look at Alonso last year, I wonder if that's what the Blue Jays are waiting for, is that it gets down to the last minute, Bichette doesn't have the market he was hoping for, and calls them up and goes, listen, I have this option. Will you match it? If you do, I'll come back to Toronto.
Right.
And it's a contract where he's going to opt out after a year, and they're going to pay him a certain amount of money, and there's going to be a big signing bonus that comes with it. And I'm sure the hope would be that happens. He has a great year, and he opts out, and maybe he leaves after that. But you get one more great year out of Bichette. Like the Mets got out of Alonso this year. Then he did opt out, and he left, and he went to Baltimore. So I don't think the door's shut, but it's going to come down to what the market's going to be.
Are you surprised that the market is different for Bichette? Did you think it was going to be
No,
bigger?
I'm not surprised.
No?
Like it was always going to be Tucker first, I think. Like maybe that changes, but it seems more likely the arms are going to go, and those are different, right? This is different. It's a Japanese player coming over. He was posted. It was well reported he was going to make a choice in the next 24, 48 hours. It turns out to be the Blue Jays. But, let's say they don't sign Bichette, don't sign Tucker, and this is it. It's still a very active offseason. They spent a ton of money. Like if you're a Blue Jay fan, at a minimum you're looking at it, they spent more than anybody. Like they have put their chips back in. And I think a big part of the evaluation, I'm sure that has been happening, is trying to predict who was for real last year, who might take a step back. Very difficult to do. Yep. But is Barger for real? Is Clement officially established? Nathan Lucas, is he a guy you can continue to play in that situation against righties on the mound? Is Springer going to replicate what he did last year? All this is uncertain, but they're trying to compensate for some of those guys, come back to reality, and maybe Okamoto can help in that regard. So it's a splash, and it's a splash in the Japanese market, which is going to make ownership money. That's somewhere they want to be. Again, it doesn't affect the average everyday fan, but it's another feather in the cap of Mark Shapiro, that's for sure.
Think of that. They must have, from a business standpoint, seen the media surrounding Shohei, seen the coverage, seen the reach that he has. Again, different player.
Yep.
But you're tapping into a market and a fan base.
They love baseball, man, and they love their own guys.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Very lucrative or potentially lucrative if he plays well.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's here for 4 years, and Scott Boras is his agent. Boras loves the Jays. He loves the Jays all of a sudden. All right, what a crazy day in the NFL, crazy weekend. The fact that the Panthers get in because the Falcons win yesterday is one of the craziest stories.
Still outrageous.
And then last night, the Kickers. The Kickers end up basically determining the AFC North. To chat about it, we're joined now by Super Bowl champ, longtime NFLer, host of the Stinkin' Truth podcast, and you see him all over the NFL. Here's Mark Schlereth back on Overdrive. How you doing, Mark?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing very, very well. Let's begin, I guess, with that game last night. Is it too simple to say that? Like the Kickers determined the game last night? How do you kind of respond to the Steelers winning the AFC North and the way everything played out last night?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a ton of plays to be made in any given game, and the Kickers are like children of the 50s, to be seen and not heard. You got one thing to do: go out and kick a field goal. I mean, it's not that hard, is it? But can you imagine being Boswell? Boswell misses the kick, and you are the GOAT. Like, you're going to cost your team a chance to be in the playoffs. And then that rookie kicker misses, and I'm sure you just walk over there like, hey, you're going to be okay, kid. You're going to be fine. Not a big deal. Shake it off. He was the most relieved guy in the stadium, no question about it. Hey, man, I get it. I'm sure it's probably tough. But, gosh, it sucks. Lose the game on a kick, that's for sure.
Yeah, Mark, what was your overarching, this season was a very unique season for the NFL. What was some of the crazy storylines or, thought processes when you wrap up yesterday, when you're looking at it and going, man, I didn't see that coming, or I didn't see that coming?
Yeah, well, you think that the standards, you think Baltimore's going to be good again. And,
Yeah.
They ended up, having injuries and all those things that have happened. Kansas City, that's always a team that you think, man, they've just had such a stronghold on the AFC West, and now they're out of it. And the other thing that has been really interesting is there's not one team in the NFL that's really established itself as a dominant team. Every team is fatally flawed. And so right now you're rolling into the playoffs going, I could see 7, 6, 7, 8 different teams represent, be represented in the Super Bowl. I could see probably 4 or 5 from each conference, or 4 from each conference that I think has a chance to be a Super Bowl, in the Super Bowl this year. So really strange. Nobody's really established themselves as that dominant football team that normally there's at least one team that really kind of has established itself as that team.
Well, Pittsburgh winning the AFC North, when you consider, like you said, the Ravens have been so great. Burrow, you were hoping for a season of health. It didn't play out that way. But the uncertainty of Aaron Rodgers and what he was going to look like, and he threw the ball, what was it, 47 times last night? He's slinging the ball around. Now, Houston, they got Houston this week, and that pass rush is going to get after him. But what do you think is left in the tank for Rodgers, for Tomlin, and the Steelers when you turn the page and start looking at the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're a great team, and I think the Houston Texans are a team that a lot of people don't want to play. That defense is legit at all 3 levels. They got superstars. Their 2 pass rushers are just flat out beasts. In Anderson off of one edge, you've got Daniil Hunter off the other. The linebackers can flat run from Toa and Alshire, and their defensive backfield is freaking phenomenal. So they are legit. They're not real complicated, but, man, they fly around. They hit people. They just out-hit people. They play violently. And so I really like them as a football team. And I think the Houston Texans are one of those teams. Now, offensively, they're a little bit iffy, but you look at them defensively, and they're a team that I think most teams in the NFL would like to avoid. So it looks like, although the Pittsburgh Steelers kind of eked their way in on a missed field goal, I would be surprised if they advanced from this game. I think Houston's going to go in there and handle their business.
With Mark Schlereth, longtime NFL Super Bowl champ. On the other side of the ball last night, Lamar Jackson. He's had an injury-riddled season. He's obviously an uber talent. He's won multiple MVPs. Could have had a third last year. It's about the big games with him. Did he help? Did he hurt his cause? What did that do for his overall reputation last night?
Well, I mean, he had a couple touchdown passes late in that game, right, to get them back in it over the top. Well, some of those are busted coverages and guys running wide open. So, but you still got to make throws. You still got to be able to see it. You still got to be able to do those things. Listen, the guy is incredibly talented. I've always said this about him in general, is that I think when he's got the complete complement of his game, he can scramble around and make plays with his feet, keep plays extended. He's really, really good. I don't think he's your prototypical drop back guy, and I think that has hurt him in the past. But he's been pretty good in the playoffs the last couple of years. So again, part of my philosophy, or part of my belief in what what Baltimore does far too often is, from a coaching staff standpoint, like, there is a certain way that they're built. They're built to run the ball. They're built to play a physical style of football. They're built that way. And to have that quarterback be a threat makes them really difficult. And oftentimes when they get into these critical moments in these, playoff-type atmospheres or playoff-type games, they kind of revert to, hey, Lamar, go win this for us. Go be Superman. It's a lot what the Bills do with Josh Allen. The same thing is, hey, man, instead of us being in charge of, maintaining our game plan and adjusting our game plan and everything else, when it gets kind of, nut-cutting time, if you will, they just throw it to their quarterbacks and go win games for us. And I hate that aspect for those guys, because I think it takes I think the coaching staff doesn't hold themselves almost accountable.
Who's your MVP?
Oh, man. It's become such a quarterback thing. I hate that. I hate it'll probably be Stafford. But, there's so many really good players that will, never get recognized because they've had bad seasons or whatever. Like a guy like Myles Garrett getting 23 sacks on the season on a team that can't play on the offensive side of the ball is phenomenal. It's incredible. So there are a lot of guys like the value of Christian McCaffrey and what he did for the 49ers as they're going through, their backup quarterback for 7 or 8 games. There are just a lot of guys who are deserving, but I think it'll probably be Matthew Stafford.
Well, you mentioned Myles Garrett, and it is funny how he's not even in the conversation. The guy had 23 sacks, the most of all time, and I get it. The record books are always adjusting because you're playing more games, but the guy is, he's a one of one, and he's doing it on a team that stinks, and they always stink, and they're going to continue to likely stink. But I remember when Strahan set the record, and Favre, it looked like Brett kind of said, all right, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the same thing with Burrow yesterday? Like, did he throw that sack? How did you see that in the pocket? It looked like it to me, man.
Yeah, I saw a guy that doesn't want to get hit anymore, and a Cincinnati team that doesn't know how to protect. So, that was one I'm going to just fall down because I don't want to get hit.
Right.
And that guy's been hurt so much, and I wouldn't want to get hit by Myles Garrett either. It's incredible. By the way, I was doing my radio show this morning, and somebody did point out, though, although it's 17 games, he did it in 100 less plays than Michael Strahan.
Wow.
Wow.
So, and I think the other thing that's interesting, and this is why, the eyeball test is important to me, far more important than statistics, is that you're doing it in a day and age of the NFL where, one, for the Cleveland Browns, they had no discernible form of offense. So, hey, listen, if we can score 17 points for the most part, most season, we're going to win. So you're not going to put you're not putting your offense, or you're not putting your offense in harm's way, meaning you're not going to give him a lot of opportunities to rush the passer. And he's always got a double team on every single play. He's got a double, triple team sometimes. And then in today's NFL, I look back to my career. At the very end of my career in the late 90s, early 2000, is when the bubble screen became an effective play in the National Football League. That's kind of when it was created. And you think about the bubble screens, all the three-step quick game, all the screens that are part of today's game, all the just outside the numbers quick throws. They rarely even run a 7-step drop unless it's like an 8-man protection in today's game. And so there are so many less opportunities to actually rush the quarterback. And you're getting 23 sacks in limited opportunities. You might get, 10, 12 legitimate opportunities in today's game to rush the passer. And somehow you've created, an opportunity for yourself to get 23 sacks. It's a phenomenal record, man. What an unbelievable season he has had.
Well, you want to make sure that Mark Gastineau is fine with that too. I don't know if you remember the the Brett Favre.
He wasn't happy. Was not happy.
Which is still one of the most awkward transactions I've ever seen, and that was an internet meme.
Right. That was tough.
Yeah. That one we want to make sure that Gastineau gets his due.
Yeah,
so crazy, but really good. Really unbelievable season for sure.
Yeah. With Mark Schlereth. So the head coaching openings as of right now: Giants, Titans, Falcons, Cardinals, Browns, Raiders. If you were pursuing a job and you could pick any of them, which job would you take, Mark?
Yeah, I think right now, I think the Giants interest me. I like their young quarterback. I think they've increased their roster. I think Atlanta has probably the best roster in the NFC South, and I like to joke around that I'm the official broadcaster of the NFC South because I've done so many of their freaking games this year. I think I had 6 Carolina Panther games, or 5, in Atlanta, and I've had a couple Tampa games, and but or got three New Orleans games and at least one or two Tampa games. So, I think they're about the most talented roster in that division. A little concerned about Penix, their quarterback. Because I just don't. I mean, that guy's like a China doll. He's through college, and now his first 2 years in the NFL, he's missed 5 seasons due to injury. 5 seasons were cut short due to injuries. He's had 2 ACLs in college, 2 shoulder injuries that cost him the year in college, and now he just had his 3rd ACL opposite knee of the 2 previous ones. But how do you go into next season with that, good of a roster going, hey, yeah, we believe in Michael Penix. He's going to be our guy. I don't know how you he may be, but, boy, I tell you what, it'd be hard to trust him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I can't blame you on that. I think that's probably why both the coach and the GM are out. They just spent money on Cousins, and then they go and reach on Penix, and we see what's happened here. Lastly, before we get chatty here on the coaching, do you think Belichick is in the running on any of these, and do you think there's a chance he gets back into the NFL?
I don't. I think that ship has sailed for Belichick, and he was great, but the further he gets removed from Tom Brady, you see kind of some of the debacles that happened toward the end of his career, and then you see what's going on at North Carolina. I just don't think anybody's going to give him a legitimate opportunity to come back and coach. So I think that ship has sailed for Belichick in the NFL.
He is a Super Bowl winner, NFL on Fox, the Stinking Truth podcast host, Mark Schlereth. Great catching up with you, Mark. We'll do it again soon. Thank you for this.
Likewise, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Mark.
There he is, Mark Schlereth. Yeah, you mentioned the Giants there, and Giants fans are apoplectic right now, which they always are at the end of the year because they won their final 2 games of the season, which means they picked 5th, I believe, as opposed to 1st overall in the draft.
That's the worst.
They do it every year, Noodles. They win Week 17, Week 18, and they move down in the draft because there's no lottery in the NFL.
And then there's hope. And then there's hope.
Absolutely.
That's the thing.
Absolutely. You get that 1st overall pick, and now the Raiders have it, and they fire Pete Carroll today. And listen, it's the same cast of characters every few years. Firing their coach, the Raiders, the Browns, the Titans. It's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Same teams all the time. Arizona needs a new coach. Of course they do. And you're perpetually losing and you don't have stability. I'm surprised the coach in Miami hasn't been fired. I'm a little bit surprised Aaron Glenn with the Jets has not been fired, even though it's only 1 year. It was only 1 year for Pete Carroll, and he's a legend.
Yeah.
Aaron Glenn and the Jets have been a disaster this year. So there still may be more yet to come, but Black Monday in the NFL, that's what they call it. A lot of turnover.
Was it a stat I read that the Jets didn't have
not one interception?
Not one interception this year.
Do you know how crazy that is? Like, Aaron Glenn's a defensive head coach. Like, that's what he is. He's a defensively minded head coach.
That's outrageous.
And they traded Sauce Gardner, and they benefited from this because the Colts went out and got him and gave up their 1st-round pick, and then the Colts ended up losing down the stretch, and they finished 8-9. So the Jets are actually in a decent position in terms of draft picks moving forward.
But not even like a tip, one accident, like it tips off a guy's helmet and goes to a lineman or something. Like nothing.
It's so New York Jetsy. Like, it's the definition of the New York Jets, man. That Rodgers goes to Pitt, has his magical year, redeeming himself, his reputation, easy guy to root for. Now the Steelers are in the playoffs, and there's the Jets winning 3 games, and they're a disaster, no interceptions. It's a joke, man. The Jets are a mess. They are legitimately one of the worst run organizations in pro sports. Man. They're in the bottom 5. There's no doubting it. They're in the bottom 5. But anyway, the playoffs are set. We'll have all week to set it up, obviously beginning on Saturday with a couple of games, and the Bills and the Jaguars. We got Packers-Bears on Saturday night. That's going to be a great game. So we'll get to our picks later in the week, more analysis throughout the week. We'll get back into Team Canada, what went wrong for them last night. And the Leafs have Florida in town tomorrow, and the Panthers just beat Colorado. Just handed Colorado their 3rd loss in regulation all season.
We also got it. We didn't talk about any of these Olympic picks. We didn't get a chance to.
Well, we'll get into that with a couple of the omissions in town tomorrow. You know, obviously first and foremost being Sam Bennett. So we'll get into that as well, considering the teams were announced over the last week or so. Best bet still to come later in the hour. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, best bets coming up later in the hour. Canada taking on Finland, bronze medal coming up in about an hour as well. And obviously we got Sweden, Czechia tonight for the gold. Can't imagine there's going to be a ton of people in the stands on a Monday night in Minnesota. I don't think it's been the greatest attendance numbers of all time, but
USA out too. And I thought about it. Like, I have some friends that live in Minnesota. Like, junior hockey is a little bit farther down, but USA, if they were in the gold medal or in the medal, like, I would think those buildings would be full, but pretty lean when you're watching Canada Latvia play. It's I get it.
Sweden Czechia is a tough one to sell on a Monday night. To fill out an NHL building.
Well, keep in mind, like, the Wild is a top-tier team. They've got high school hockey there. They've got college hockey. They've got the Timberwolves. They've got, you look at, that's a big sports city.
Yeah,
like,
Vikings, Twins, they got them all, man. They got all the big four in Minnesota.
Yeah, to me, like, a lot of times it's better served, that tournament, in smaller cities, in the rural cities.
100%. Like, that is a big part of it. Is the best tournaments are in junior towns. In Canada. I mean, there's no denying that. The crowds are always the best up here. They always have and they always will be.
Yeah.
But you like, next year it's in Edmonton and Red Deer, and I'm sure if Canada's in the gold medal, that building will be packed, and Edmonton's a great hockey town. But they're competing with the Oilers, and there's other stuff going on.
Yeah.
Where if you're in Red Deer exclusively, if you're in Halifax, if you're and you've got a building that's 8,000 to 10,000 people and it's packed, there's nothing better than that. There's nothing, and it's such an advantage for Canada. Like, you think about, you're 17, 18 years old. You grew up in Europe, just hearing about the craziness of hockey in this country, and you're playing in a building that feels like it's closing on you with lunatics on a Saturday night who have been drinking and going nuts and waiting for you, and Jordan Tutu's coming out and burying you. Like, that's what it used to be like.
It's a different vibe, but that being said, it's a big platform for all these kids. Heavily scouted, heavily, as you know, World Juniors is a great gateway for a lot of young players to either create a storyline for themselves or to, have a great tournament. Like, Zane Parekh has got a bunch of points. He's got an opportunity here to, I believe, set the record book. Did he get his 11th point?
Yeah, Pietrangelo has held it as a defenseman.
Yeah, Kaber's name is in there, too, I thought.
Yeah, Kaber was a great World Junior. He was on O's team, and he was the man, I think, on defense.
Yeah.
Like, he was a stud.
I thought I saw Carlos' name at 10 points in a tournament.
He did.
Well.
Carlos was a two-time World Junior player, and like the second year, he was playing a ton of minutes.
Yeah.
You're right.
It's great for some individual stuff. It does suck, like you said. They're playing for a bronze, and it feels like a disappointment. I get that. Especially coming into this tournament. When you look at the amount of talent, the amount of first-rounders, the way, like, there really should be no excuse, other than the fact that Czechia, Sweden, like, these teams have earned it as well. They deserve to be there, so good on them. But
and compete level is a big part of it. Like, the Canadians are saying it. I just read a quote from Misa who said, they out-competed us last night. Like, that's not about skill, man. That's about, dogged tenacity and going for pucks and winning battles, and that's what Czechia did. And, as you turn the page on this, and I know the tournament's not over, but the Olympics will be here before you know it. It's always a debate about the roster. The reality is the main pieces are the main pieces, right? With this junior team and with the Olympic team. Like, McDavid's going, McKinnon's going, Sid's going, McCarr's going. Like, the big guys are there.
Yeah.
The debate is on the fringes, and it's, Wilson and Bennett and Horvat and Harley and Sanheim and the third goalie. The rest of it was mostly predictable.
Yeah.
I would have had Sam Bennett on there for sure. I think they might regret not having him on, but he still might get there with injuries.
Still a chance, yeah.
There's
Tom
still
Wilson,
a chance it's going to happen.
Horvat gets injured. Tom Wilson
Right.
apparently has a lower body injury. Like, there's going to be additions to it. It'd just be interesting to see. Horvat was interesting for me. I'm sorry. That name kind of – I know he was on lists and that, and he's a fantastic player. It was an outlier for me. I would have taken Sam Bennett over Horvat, but again,
all day. I agree with you.
That is, what we're doing is this isn't more about negativity towards Bo Horvat. It's more about, hey, I would have tried to find a spot for Sam Bennett,
yes.
just personally.
And I do think the Schaefer story will continue as well. Like, if that defense struggles, to move the puck, to transition, like, that's what this team is going to be about, is pace and get it to McKinnon, get it to McDavid.
Well,
and Schaefer can do that.
Yeah, Parayko and Doughty. Like, Doughty obviously is Drew Doughty, but again, does he have pace? Does Parayko have pace? Like, that's the one thing. Now, you do have pace at the top of the what we're doing is splitting hairs at the bottom instead of at the top. And, I would have found a place for Schaefer. Age, I get it, and I understand it, and I respect it, but what we're seeing now in today's game is age is not overwhelming for these kids. Mm-hmm. They're coming in and going, I don't care. I'm going to play well. Like, I'm ready to play. And again, maybe on the biggest stage, they don't want to put him in a situation where he would, potentially fail. But I just look at that kid. He's pretty special. In net, I get it. Like, Binnington, we saw what he could do. They announced the roster, and he gets a shutout that night. You knew
he was on that team. And that's not about personal – obviously there's bias and all that. Doug Armstrong's his GM in St. Louis. It's because of what he did at the Four Nations.
Of course.
And because he's got a cup, and because the guys who he's competing with are not Hall of Fame goaltenders.
Right.
Like, if this – to give an example, if this was the Americans in Demko, you're like, man, he's clutch and he's done this, but he's hurt and he's not playing great. You'd say, well, I'm not taking Hellebuck off.
Right.
I'm not taking Onger off. I'm not taking Swayman off. Here, he's taking Mackenzie Blackwood off. With all due respect. He's not taking some superstar goalie spot. And Thompson's been really good, and he might get an opportunity. And, Binnington, he just showed it. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. And I saw a tweet over the weekend that brought up a very good point, though, that, like, if the Four Nations never happened, how much different this team could look like. Again, 80% of it was set in stone. Yeah. But this debate over Sam Bennett may be a little bit different. I don't know. I know he just won the Conn Smythe, but we saw it at the Four Nations. Tom Wilson not being there and what he looks like. Right. Binnington being an example. If he didn't have that Four Nations moment, is he on this team? I don't know, because the Cup was in 19. That's 6 years ago.
Right.
That's a long time ago. The Four Nations, I think, is more relevant because even though he's playing poorly, he just did it a calendar year ago.
Well, and you've seen – so for me, he's got two separator things. One is he won a Stanley Cup, you're right, 2019, Game 7 on the road.
Right.
Probably the most pressurous situation, got it done.
Yes.
Okay? Then, again, a year ago, in overtime.
Same building, on the road.
Same building, great saves, robs Matthews a couple times. Like, you've got a sample size to go, we've seen this guy do it. Darcy Kempers won a Stanley Cup. So he's played on the biggest stage and had success, regardless of whether his team was, the best or whatever. I look at it, and I at least have a sample size to refer of. Logan Thompson, if you look at statistically, he's been one of the best goaltenders in the league the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. Why would you not? I get it. Mackenzie Blackwood. If you look at this guy, he's built like a Greek god, 6'4", 225, chiseled, can move in the net, great feet, like on a really successful team. So he might be able to have the mental fortitude, knowing he's playing behind a really good team. You need big saves at the right time. You may not be facing 40 shots a night, but, man, you need a save when there's a breakdown. He's been able to do that in Colorado. Now, I do believe, is he injured? I did not see him yesterday against Florida. He was not on the bench.
He's been banged up, and that's a big part of it is just, Devon Taves, his wife is pregnant early February. How's that going to factor in? Like, there's a lot of balls up in the air right now. But the teams have been revealed. And listen, the Americans, Bill Guerin's taking heat, because he's got Trocheck on there again. He's got Miller on there again. Jason Robertson is not.
Well, and Cole Caulfield. You're leaving goals off.
Goals off the team.
Which
for
is
vibes guys and room guys and, veterans with size that can play chippy. And, that's what Trocheck is. That's what Miller is. Brock Nelson. He's had a good year, Nelson,
I think they've built that team to play against the Canadians.
Yes.
That's which is fair if that's what you – but, again, don't underestimate some of these other teams that are coming in there. Sweden, Finland, you name it. There's some really good teams there. I just worry, again, that you overthink it. But listening to them talk, I listened to Bill Guerin's press conference. I listened to Doug Armstrong's. They talked about building a team the right way. Anthony Cirelli, that's a John Cooper guy who knows how to play penalty kill, can play in all situations. I didn't challenge it, to be honest. I'm not going to challenge it going, you need guys who can penalty kill. And it's not just, hey, put McDavid and McKinnon out and kill penalties. It's guys who are really good at reading plays. I think they felt like they needed more of a defined third line or a guy who can play farther down in the lineup. So I get what they're trying to do with some of these teams, but we can always sit there. There's so much depth in the U.S. and in Canada. You go, how the hell is that guy not on there? Or how is that guy
Canada's
not on there?
B team would fight for
very well.
medal. Would be really good. Like Bedard, he's hurt, and that was a big story a month and a half ago. He's playing himself on, and then all of a sudden he misses, and it's more about Bennett, and it's more about Schaefer, and it's more about other guys. But Connor Bedard has been phenomenal when he's been healthy this year. So it's going to be a great tournament. And, the NHL as a result, because this tournament is what it is, this condensed schedule. And if you're not aware of the Leaf news today, Craig Berube, seems like every other day, Craig's got to come out and list off injury updates. Yeah. The Dakota Joshua was really scary. Lacerated kidney. He's back in Toronto, but who knows when he's coming back. We have no idea when Tanev's going to return. McCabe's out. He said for probably a week. That could be more. Willie's still out. Stolarz is skating on his own, but there's no timeline. Dakota Mermis is out.
Indefinite for Stolarz. That again.
That
November
makes you
11th.
wince, man, because it's been months now, and it's just nothing. Not with the team. Nothing. Indefinite. We'll let you know. You can ask every couple of weeks. We'll probably say the same thing. That one. It just, again, puts pressure on Joseph Woll, on Dennis Hildeby, on the defense to be great, and they're depleted. And, I give them credit because they have fought back recently. The Leafs have played better, and they're 4-0-2 in their last 6, and they're still in the hunt, and there is still a pathway to make the playoffs. It's very difficult. But with all these injuries and, the kind of a goofy feeling season, they had a chance to just completely derail. 2 weeks ago, they could have completely folded up shop, lost their last 6 in a row, and we'd be saying, all right, trade this guy, trade that guy, tank, it's over. They haven't done that. They still have a lot of games left to determine exactly what it's going to look like, but it's going to challenge their room.
Yes.
Craig Berube's got a tough job here, man. He doesn't know who's available to him every night. Yeah. He's got to find a way to, piece lines together and deep pairings together. There's going to be guys who are playing way too many minutes, but they have to.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to grind here because when they hit the road, they got to win. Well, they got to
exactly.
You've played your cards of losing a bunch of games. You can't do it. You've got to play 600 hockey the rest of the way at least.
And the key is, Brian, road hockey.
Yes.
The road right. So I've always felt like at home you need about a 600 plus win record as far as win percentage. On the road, I've always felt you needed 500 or better. They're well below 500, and it's not good. The road record is poor, and their home record, luckily, is at least helped.
14-5-5 at home.
Yes,
that's a really good record. 5-10-2 on the road.
Not good, and
not
that's
good
the thing. So you need 5 extra wins there on the road. That's the difference, because to me, on the road, you've got to be around 500 to be a playoff team. Again, there's lots of different factors we're seeing now. I was looking at it this morning. Like, the Leafs have played 41 games. They've got 15 regulation wins, but they've got 19 wins, and so you've got overtime wins, all of that type of stuff. I look at it, and this isn't just reserved for the Leafs. This is right through the league. There's a bunch of teams that got 15, 16 regulation wins because it's all extra overtime. I believe there's a team, I'm drawing a blank, has 11 overtime points.
Vegas has been doing that all year.
That's what it is. Vegas has got 13 regulation wins, I believe, and it's like 11 losses in overtime.
You're right.
And it's 13
regulation wins
in
Vegas, and they're atop their division because they keep getting points. They lose in shootouts and overtime, but they get points.
But that's so I keep coming back to it, is you got to find a way to just hang in there with points. And it just can't be Matthews, but their road record has to be a lot better, and you're going to need the goaltenders to steal some. You're going to need other players. I don't know, what's the news on Willie?
Willie, he's skating, but I doubt he plays tomorrow. And it was the same thing, like out of nowhere, something popped up day to day. Maybe he'll play game time and then he's just out, And again, I don't believe he's joined the team. He's been skating on his own. He's been around. But they play Florida tomorrow, at Philly Thursday, at home to Vancouver on Saturday. Like, this is a week where you got to get between 4 and 6 points. They've played Florida pretty well. Florida's still ripe for the picking. Florida, they're playing okay, but they're not phenomenal. They're not blowing the doors off anyone. And at Philly, they have success in that building, and Vancouver's one of the worst teams in the league this year. So you got to get that, because after this, it's at Colorado, at Utah, at Vegas, at Winnipeg. You got Minnesota coming up. You got Colorado, Vegas, Colorado twice, Vegas twice, Minnesota before you hit the break, and at Edmonton. So, this is, you got Detroit in there. You got Buffalo, who's been red hot. Like, before they get to their final game of the, before the Olympic break, February 3rd, they play some really tough teams.
Yes, in their buildings, not in their own building.
At Colorado, at Vegas, at Edmonton.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be a grind here.
It's going to be a massive challenge. Like, health is a big thing, but also playing well. Like, it's funny. We had that good debate about who's owned the record, right? Is the manager? Is it the coach? Remember, I was beating the drum saying, well, the best player's got to play well. All of a sudden, the best player is playing pretty well.
He sure is,
and the record looks a little bit different, right? It's funny when, always says.
Well, the power play's been better, too.
A lot better.
Like, lot better. I don't know what was going on with Mark Savard. But, man, that power play, it's fluid and it's productive.
I think
changes a lot.
I think anything, Austin Matthews skating and shooting like he does right now just helps relieve some pressure on a lot of things. The other thing, too, is it looks to me like Steve Sullivan has come in there and said, like, relax and play, and let's simplify this. There's not, they're not trying to overpass it into the net. It's find what's open. I remember Glenn Gulletson, who is an unbelievable coach, coaches Dallas, was the power play coach for the Edmonton Oilers. And he always talked about finding, you got to find the weakness on the power play. You see how Edmonton's power play is so fluid, and they look for the opening. They're always looking. Now, McDavid's flying around. You got Hyman in front of the net. You got Draisaitl where he is. But RNH, to me, I've noticed with the Toronto Maple Leafs is on their entry, they're getting into the zone a lot better. So that was one thing. I think they weren't getting in and getting set up, which was half of the battle. And now they're taking what is given. They're making, a little play here, pop into the middle, shot on goal instead of, hey, one extra pass wide or one, it's taking what you're given. And they're having success with it. Confidence is a big part. But Steve Sullivan's a smart guy, and he was a power play specialist as a player. And, same like Mark Savard. I played with Savvy, but something needed to give there. They needed a body on the tarmac. For lack of
and that's
better
what
words.
It ultimately was. It was
right?
the mob was rabid.
Yep.
And they were like, well, we stink and we've been brutal. Someone's going to go. It's not going to be the coach. It's not going to be the GM.
Right.
And, Savard fell on the swords, so be it. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes and all
Right.
that in terms of how they evaluate all that. But, since that's happened, this has been a soft part of their schedule.
Yeah.
These are games you got to win and you got to get points, and they've done that. I just did the calculation. They have 16 games between now and the Olympic break. That's 32 possible points you can get. You probably have to get 20. With the position you're in, you probably have got to get 20.
You got to get the equivalent of 10 wins, 10 and 6.
I think so,
or something
10 and
like
6 to hit the break and be, like we said earlier, maybe in a playoff spot or within a couple of points.
Yeah.
Because the other,
fair.
like Tampa's won 7 in a row. The Habs seem to win every night.
They
they
just
don't.
got 10 of 14. They had a 7
on the road. What a road trip they just had.
10 of 14 points on the road. And our
Yeah.
boy Brian Mudryk called the game yesterday solo. I don't know if you saw that.
What a phenomenal call, too. The Hudson OT winner. He was going nuts.
Unbelievable. But
Great call.
There was an injury to Nate Thompson, who was doing a great job there, but he wasn't able to make the call yesterday. So it was Brian Mudryk by
Old
himself.
school Vince Scully move.
He was Vince Scully. Who was the other guy? Was it Harry Carey? Did Harry Carey do games?
I don't
by
know if
himself
Harry
or
ever
no?
did it on his own.
Okay.
Harry was half cut most of the time.
Vince Scully the guy with no tarp on in the stands?
No, that's Harry Carey.
That's Harry
Harry
Carey.
Carey would be literally in the seats, buckled, yelling about the Cubs or whatever. And he had some great commercials, like
know.
Budweiser commercials. There's a great one, the first night game they ever played at Wrigley.
Yeah.
Because Wrigley was the last stadium to ever
that's
put
right.
lights in.
Yeah.
They played exclusively day games for like 100 years. And Bill Murray, who's a big Cubs fan, big Chicago guy, he's there with Harry Carey under the lights talking about drinking Budweisers. The game's going on. You got to find the video. It's a great YouTube
God.
video.
I love it.
Harry Carey, half cut. Because remember the story that came out after he passed away? Someone found his diary where he went to the bar like every day for 8 straight years or something. Like 8 years in a row at the bar. Next day, down to the bar. Next day, popping into the bar. Like that's all he wrote in his diary for like 8 years in a row.
Awesome.
And he
Love
called
it.
games, never miss a game. Harry Carey, what a legend. All right, best bets coming up. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
Now, back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, best bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. I've got a 3-leg parlay tonight. Over the number in the Red Wings Sens game tonight.
Think so?
Yeah,
Close?
I feel like Detroit's a high-flying team. They're a fun team to watch. I'll give them credit. Their defense, young, not necessarily household names. Ottawa, they got to get going here. They got to get going. It was a weird one the other night. They beat Winnipeg. We'll get to that in a moment. That Logan Stanley sucker punch on Kachuk was wild.
There was 2 sucker punches that night alone that got suspensions, right? What was the second one was a greasy one, too. Like, I'm trying to remember which. Oh, it was Beecher. That's right, from Calgary. I don't know if he got a game or not. I haven't seen what's happened.
I didn't see anything on that, but
that
Stanley's a massive, massive human being, and he dropped Brady. And Brady's got the brace on his hand. He can't fight. It's my understanding. Like I don't believe he's in a position to fight, but I think he may be tapping on his shoulder down the road. I have a feeling those two will meet again at some point.
You know what's funny? I love Travis Green's comments. He goes, I'm going to be careful with my comments, but he goes, like Brady Tkachuk was chosen to be an Olympian, like on the first ballot Olympian. He goes, Kyle Connor, if they do that to Kyle Connor, we're having a different conversation.
Yep. Definitely. Yeah, and Brady's looked upon differently for sure because of the way he plays, but there's no questioning that. So I'm on the over in that game. I'm on Calgary, who's on a heater. Calgary's sniffing out the playoffs right now in the West.
They are.
And the Capitals against Anaheim. Anaheim's coming back to earth a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm on Washington at home. That parlay paying plus 500. Best bets powered by FanDuel. Same game parlays around the NHL are available on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly. 19 plus, physically located in Ontario. Back at 4 p.m. tomorrow. Okay, this was a one-off because Canada's in the bronze. That's coming up next on TSN. Gold medal game tonight on TSN. And a full recap tomorrow. And, of course, Leafs Panthers tomorrow night. Lots to get into. Maybe the Jays make another splash. So thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out today. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in. TV, radio, podcast, web, up on YouTube Live. We appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.